Imagine discovering that the person you trusted most with your sick child might actually be the one slowly killing him. This is the story of a mother's fight for truth, a family torn apart by secrets, and the shocking moment when love uncovered a deadly lie. Welcome to Folktales Hub. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and share with friends. I still remember the smell of spearmint tea that morning. I had just boiled water and dropped the leaves in, hoping the calm scent would settle my nerves. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, and I thought maybe for once I'd have a peaceful day. But that was when she walked in, without knocking, without even saying hello. "Mom," Rebecca said, her voice as sharp as a nail hammered into wood. She didn't waste a second. "The doctor says there isn't much time left. If you keep hesitating, he could be in danger." She placed a thick stack of medical papers on my dining room table. White pages filled with numbers, signatures, and medical terms I didn't understand. She tapped her finger on the lines, explaining as if she was teaching a child. "It says right here. You are the only match. No one else can save him." I stood there holding the teapot. The steam burned my fingers, but I didn't even feel it. My heart was thumping so hard it drowned out everything else. I wanted to argue, to say something, but instead I reached for the broom. I started sweeping the floor, my way of escaping her piercing gaze. The sound of the broom scraping the concrete became my shield. "I heard you," I finally whispered, my voice almost disappearing. "I'll do everything for Adam." But inside, my chest felt heavy, as if a giant rock was pressing down on me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run away. Yet all I could do was sweep, 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 like that sound could erase her words. Rebecca didn't move. She just stood there watching me, waiting for me to repeat my promise. Waiting for me to surrender again. When she finally left, I dropped the broom, sat down in the wooden chair, and covered my face with my hands. My son Adam, my boy who used to run after me in the market, pulling on my skirt and laughing, was now lying in a hospital bed. His once bright face now pale. His once strong body now thin and weak. I remembered how he used to say, "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to build you a beautiful house." He used to dream so big. And now here he was, fighting for his life. I asked myself, could I really let him go without doing anything? But every time I thought about donating my kidney, fear gripped me. Not fear of the surgery, no. It was something else, something darker. A sense that I was being pushed into a shadow I couldn't quite see. That night, Rebecca's parents came over. They didn't even bother with greetings. They just set a fruit basket, mangoes and oranges, on the table as if to check a box, then sat down in the best chairs like they owned the place. Her father, Mr. Collins, cleared his throat. His voice was raspy, like gravel being crushed. "In my day, parents sacrificed everything for their children. My grandmother sold all her land to save her son. Now it's your turn. You have to do the same." Her mother, Mrs. Peterson, nodded with eyes sharp as knives. "If you refuse, the family's honor will be gone. What will the neighbors say? That you don't love your son. That you don't even deserve to be called a mother." I gripped the edge of the table so tightly my hands shook. I wanted to ask them, why me? Why is the whole burden on me? But the words stuck in my throat. I lowered my head, nodding slightly like a puppet with strings pulled too tight. Dinner that night felt like a funeral. Rebecca, wearing her mask of politeness, placed a piece of chicken on my plate and said sweetly, "Mom, save your strength for the surgery." Her words were sugar on the outside but ice on the inside. I stared at the food, unable to swallow. Across the table, Adam looked at me with weak eyes. His face was so thin, his smile barely there. "Mom," he whispered, "I know you'll save me. Just like all the times you saved me when I was a kid." His words cut through me. I remembered staying up all night with a wet cloth when his fever wouldn't break. I remembered running to him when he fell off his bike, bandaging his little scraped knees. I remembered the boy who always trusted me to make things better. But now, why was I so afraid? At the far end of the table sat Brandon, my younger son. He didn't touch his food. He just stirred his spoon in the soup, his eyes locked on Rebecca. He didn't say a word, but his silence spoke louder than anything else. Suspicion filled his gaze, like he was trying to see beneath the mask she wore. The clinking of spoons against plates filled the room, each sound like a hammer hitting my heart. After dinner, Rebecca gathered Adam's plate and rushed it to the kitchen. She washed it quickly but inspected it carefully, as if afraid someone might see something. My stomach turned. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the tick-tock of the clock. Each second reminded me that Adam's time was slipping away. I finally got up for a glass of water, but as I walked past their room, I heard whispers. Rebecca's voice. Low but clear enough. Yes, after the transplant we'll have all the data. Don't worry. She won't dare refuse. My breath caught in my throat. Data. What data? My heart pounded so hard I leaned against the wall to keep from falling. I wanted to knock to demand answers, but just then Rebecca opened the door. She looked surprised for a second, then forced a smile. Still up, Mom? I was just checking about his medicine. I nodded and walked away, but inside I felt like thorns were piercing me. Her smile was fake. Her words were fake. Everything about her was fake. The days that followed felt like a fog. I went to the market, sewed clothes. I cooked for my husband Joe. But nothing felt real. Every sound, every face, every action seemed covered by a dark cloud. Rebecca's voice, Adam's pleading eyes, Mr. Collins' words, they all circled my head like vultures. And then, one afternoon, my grandson Mario walked in. He was only 9, his sneakers muddy, his hands sticky from art class paint. He dropped his backpack and sat on the floor with his little plastic car. Normally, he filled the room with laughter. But that day he was quiet. He rolled the car back and forth, staring at the floor, until suddenly he looked up at me. "Grandma," he said softly but clearly, "what if my dad isn't sick because of life, but because someone is giving him medicine on purpose?" The spoon in my hand almost fell. My whole body trembled. "Why do you say that, Mario?" I asked, trying to sound calm, though my voice cracked. He looked down again, rolling his toy car. His little hands clenched. He didn't answer. He just picked up his backpack and left quietly, leaving me frozen in place. His words echoed inside me like a church bell. What if my dad is sick because someone is giving him medicine? I told myself it was impossible. Rebecca was his wife. She loved him. She wouldn't hurt him. But the thought stuck to me like a shadow I couldn't shake. That evening, Brandon came over with his toolbox to fix the flickering kitchen light. He climbed the ladder, changed the bulb, and lit up the whole room. But when he came down, his face was serious. "Mom," he whispered, "I've seen something. Rebecca is hiding bottles of medicine in Adam's cabinet. They don't have labels. I don't think they're from the doctor." The plate slipped from my hands, water splashing my blouse. "What are you saying?" Choked out. Brandon looked straight into my eyes. "I don't think Adam's sickness is natural. I think someone is making him sick." The room spun. My heart raced. I wanted to shout, to deny it. But instead I just stood there, trembling, while Mario's words came back to me. What if my dad is sick because someone is giving him medicine? The idea was terrifying. But deep down I knew it wasn't just imagination. Something was wrong. And it was only the beginning. The next afternoon, I went to the hospital carrying a small plastic container of homemade soup. I thought maybe Adam would feel better tasting food cooked with love instead of the bland meals they served. The white walls and sharp smell of disinfectant pressed against me as soon as I walked in. That place always felt like it was swallowing me whole. Adam was lying there, his skin pale, his eyes sunken but still soft when he saw me. "Mom, you came early today," he said with a weak smile. I set the soup down on the nightstand. "Of course, honey. You know I'll always come." I was about to feed him the first spoonful when I noticed something strange. Rebecca was right there by his bed, holding a glass of water. She moved quickly, too quickly, and dropped a small pill into the glass. The pill was an odd color, not like any medicine I had ever seen. She fumbled, spilling a little water when she realized I was watching. My heart skipped. "What pill is that, Rebecca?" asked, trying to sound casual. She didn't even blink. Her smile appeared too fast, too stiff. "Oh, it's just a kidney supplement the doctor prescribed. To help him recover." I forced a nod, but cold chills ran down my back. Something in me said she was lying. When Adam finally drifted off to sleep, I walked down the hall to find the doctor. He was a middle-aged man with round glasses, flipping through a chart. "Doctor," I whispered nervously, "did you prescribe any new supplements for Adam's kidney?" He looked puzzled. "No, ma'am. Nothing new. The current medicine is enough." "Why do you ask?" The ground felt like it slipped from under my feet. I thanked him, walked back into the hallway, and leaned against the cold wall. Rebecca had lied. What was that pill? Why hide it? That evening when I got home, Mario came over again. His little backpack bounced against his shoulders. But this time he didn't play with his toy car. He sat quietly at the table, fiddling with his old phone with a cracked screen. "Grandma," he whispered, "I want you to hear something." He pressed play on a recording. Rebecca's voice filled the room, low but clear. "After the transplant, the test results will be perfect. Don't worry. She won't dare refuse." The phone slipped from my trembling hands. I looked at Mario, his big innocent eyes red with worry. "I found it on Mom's old phone," he said, his little voice breaking. "I don't know what it means, but I thought you should know." I pulled him close, hugging him so tightly he almost disappeared in my arms. "You're so brave, my boy," I whispered. But inside my heart was falling apart. Test results. Transplant. She won't refuse. The pieces began to connect. The pills, the lies, the whispers. It was all leading to one thing. Rebecca wanted my kidney in Adam's body. Not just to save him, but for something else. Something about data. That night, sleep didn't come. I sat in my old chair in the dark living room, listening to the tick-tock of the clock. Every second was a hammer pounding into my chest. Adam's time was running out, but so was mine. The next day I went back to the hospital. Rebecca was already there, sitting with her legs crossed neatly, her eyes glued to the 4-drip. She barely acknowledged me, just nodded as if my presence meant nothing. On the nightstand, I noticed a small white bottle half hidden under a napkin. Picked it up. Inside were strange blue pills. No label. No doctor's instructions. Just a plain container. "What medicine is this?" asked. Rebecca's hand shot out so fast it startled me. She snatched the bottle from my hand, smiling too wide. "Vitamins, Mom. Doctor prescribed them. You don't have to worry." Her smile was like cheap paint on a broken wall, covering something dangerous. I sat down beside Adam and spoon-fed him slowly, but my thoughts were miles away. Mario's voice echoed in my head. What if my dad is sick because someone is giving him medicine? That evening, Brandon walked in with grease still on his hands from work. He didn't even greet Rebecca, who was busy in the hallway talking to a nurse. When she stepped out, he came to me quickly. "Mom," he whispered, pulling a plastic bag from his backpack. Inside were photos on his phone, blurry but clear enough to make my stomach twist. It was Rebecca, standing in the hospital parking lot, handing a small bag to a man in a black jacket and cap. In return, he gave her an envelope. "I followed her yesterday," Brandon said, his voice trembling. "She gave him medicine. And he paid her. This isn't normal, Mom. Something's not right." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "Are you sure?" I whispered, almost begging for him to say he was wrong. Brandon's eyes filled with both anger and fear. "I'm sure. And I think she's the reason Adam is this sick." My knees went weak. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. But I just stood there, numb. That night, I prayed harder than I had in years. My tears fell on the old wooden floor as I asked God to give me strength, to show me the truth. Was my son's wife, the woman he trusted, slowly poisoning him? The next morning I cooked rice and stew, hoping the smell of home would give Adam comfort. I carried the food into his cold hospital room. He smiled when he saw me, though his face was so thin it broke me. "Mom," he said softly, "you're always here for me." I forced a smile, but inside my heart was being ripped apart. Rebecca was there again, quiet, watching. Her eyes never left Adam's bag, as if she was counting each drop. On the nightstand, the same pill bottle was back, now tucked deeper under a paper cup. I wanted to grab it, run to the doctor, scream the truth. But fear kept me silent. What if I was wrong? What if confronting her made things worse for Adam? That evening, Brandon returned. He pulled me aside in the hallway, his face pale. "Mom, I think she's planning something. We can't wait much longer." I looked into his eyes and saw the same fear I carried, but also determination. For the first time I realized we couldn't ignore it anymore. I didn't sleep that night. My eyes were open until the first light of morning touched the curtains. My body was heavy, but my mind kept racing in circles. The truth was closing in on me, yet I was too afraid to hold it. I thought of Adam as a boy, running barefoot in the yard, his laughter ringing like church bells. I thought of him in high school, helping me carry groceries when I was tired. And now, here he was, my son, the same boy I once rocked to sleep, lying weak while his wife stood over him with pills and secrets. I told myself, "Mary, you cannot be silent anymore. Silence is dangerous now." The next morning I dressed slowly, as if preparing for battle. I put on a simple blouse and held my old Bible close to my chest. I whispered, "Lord, walk with me." Then I made my way to the hospital. When I walked into Adam's room, Rebecca was there already. She had that same perfect smile, that same sweet voice. But now I saw through it. Behind her charm was something darker. Adam greeted me weakly. "Mom, you're early." I kissed his forehead. "Yes, my dear. I wanted to see you first thing." Placed my bag down. Brandon had told me the night before, "We have to catch her red-handed." So I waited. I sat by Adam's side, pretending to read from my Bible, but my eyes never left Rebecca. Then it happened. She reached into her purse, pulling out the small white pill bottle. She looked around, thinking no one was watching, and tilted one pill into her hand. My heart pounded so loud I was sure she could hear it. "Adam, here's your vitamin," she said, her voice as sweet as honey. But before she could drop it in the water, my hand shot out. I grabbed her wrist so hard she gasped. "Enough," I said, my voice shaking with anger and fear. Her smile vanished. For the first time I saw her mask fall. Her eyes turned sharp, cold, and empty. Adam looked between us, confused. "What's happening?" "Mom." "Rebecca." I held the pill in my palm, turning it toward him. "This is not from your doctor, Adam." "Asked him. He never prescribed these." Rebecca's voice hardened. "Don't listen to her, Adam. She's old, confused. She doesn't know what she's talking about." But before I could answer, the door opened. Brandon stepped in, his phone in hand. He had been recording everything from the hallway. He looked straight at his brother and said, "It's true. She's been lying, Adam." Followed her. I saw her exchange these pills for money. I took photos. Rebecca froze. For a moment, her face twisted with rage. But then she laughed, a low, bitter laugh that sent shivers down my spine. "You think you've caught me," she said coldly. "You don't understand. Everything I've done is for Adam. For the transplant. For the future. None of you are strong enough to do what's necessary. Only I am." Adam's eyes widened. "Rebecca, what are you talking about?" She leaned closer to him, her voice shaking now, not with fear but obsession. "The data. The test results. With your mother's kidney, everything changes. The future changes. Don't you see? This is bigger than you, bigger than her, bigger than all of us." My blood ran cold. She wasn't just trying to save Adam. She was planning something beyond him, using me like a tool. No, I whispered, stepping between her and my son. Not my child. Not my life. Not my family. The room was heavy with silence, broken only by the beeping of Adam's monitor. Finally Adam spoke, his voice weak but firm. Rebecca, leave. She spun toward him, shocked. What? I said leave, he repeated, his eyes filling with tears. If you ever cared about me, you won't poison me anymore. For a moment, she looked like she might argue. But then her face hardened. She grabbed her purse, her heels clicking against the floor, and stormed out without another word. The room collapsed into silence. Adam's chest rose and fell as he tried to breathe through the weight of it all. I knelt by his bed, holding his hand. My son, I whispered. I almost lost you. He looked at me with tears streaming down his face. Mom, I didn't see it. I didn't know. It's not your fault, I said, stroking his hair like I did when he was little. Love can blind us. But God has given us the truth now. Brandon walked over and placed a hand on Adam's shoulder. We're going to protect you, bro. No matter what. Mario peeked into the room then, his small eyes wide, holding onto the doorframe. He had heard everything. I opened my arms, and he ran straight into them. Grandma, he whispered. Does this mean Dad is safe now? I hugged him tight. Yes, my boy. Your dad will be safe. But deep inside, I knew we weren't fully safe. Rebecca's words haunted me, the future. Data. The transplant. She wasn't finished. She would come back. In the weeks that followed, Adam began to recover slowly. The doctors adjusted his treatment, and without the mysterious pills, his strength started to return bit by bit. The hospital room felt lighter now. One afternoon, as I sat by his bed knitting a small scarf, he turned to me and said, Mom, thank you for saving me. Tears filled my eyes. It wasn't just me, Adam. It was Brandon. It was Mario. It was God guiding us. He smiled faintly. I don't deserve you. I shook my head. No, my son. Family is family. We carry each other through the storm. Brandon later showed me that he had sent the photos and recordings to the authorities. They were investigating Rebecca quietly. We didn't see her again after that day, but sometimes at night, I would wake up from dreams of her standing in the shadows, her cold smile watching me. But I refused to live in fear anymore. Chose faith. One Sunday morning, after Adam was finally strong enough to leave the hospital, we went to church together. He walked slowly, leaning on Brandon's arm, but he was alive, breathing, smiling. Mario held his other hand, his small steps matching his father's. As the choir sang and the sunlight poured through the stained glass, I closed my eyes and whispered, Thank you, Lord. Thank you for giving me another chance to hold my son. The storm had not destroyed us. The truth had set us free. And though shadows might still linger outside in that moment, I knew we had survived. Because family, faith, and love had spoken louder than fear. As I tell you this story, I want you to remember one thing. Sometimes danger doesn't come from strangers. Sometimes it wears the face of someone you trust, someone you welcome into your family. But when love is real, when family stands together, the truth cannot stay hidden. I almost lost my son, but instead I found my strength. And if you are listening to this story tonight, I want you to know, whatever storm you are in, you are not alone. Hold on. Speak up. Stand strong. Because the truth will always come to light.